Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Udham Saranam Gacchami, Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami, Dutayambi Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dutayambi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Dutayambi Sangham Saranam Gacchami, Tatayambi Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Tatayambi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Tatayambi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, about to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, about to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, about to master them all. However endless the Buddhist way is, about to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayatam gati gati parasamgati bodhi soha. Tayatam gati gati parasamgati bodhi soha. Tayatam gati gati parasamgati bodhi soha. So I hope you're all well and looking forward to our meditation now before the Dharma talk. And like I mentioned in the previous classes, I'm going to teach some random subjects in a sense, but I'm going to utilize my book to do this. At the same time, answer certain questions that I've received recently too. Okay, I can do it all in one kind of thing. And just to let you know ahead of time too, that the books, the hard copy book is sort of Andrew's Pearls, All Is Well, Encouragement and Dharma Quotes. And these are kind of randomly chosen, these ones, from writings from the quote itself and then the explanation of the quote that I'd already written. And they were chosen by Sita and her team at Agalago Publishing in Thailand, okay? And then I approved that, of course. We wanted to get a book out at that time. And then there's another 4 books, actually. There's Teachings on Generosity, Teachings on Love and Compassion. What else? I did meditation teachings or instructions and wisdom teachings. Okay, so these are books that are similar format, except obviously chosen with a specific subject in mind. And also, but these books, because of COVID, actually just prior to that too, but because when COVID arrived, their funds dried up for the publishing company. So these books were put on the back burner. These books apparently, they've got in contact with me recently and said that they want to publish the books now as ebooks. So I'll wait for their advice over the coming weeks and so before I start actually doing the work on them. A lot of the work has already been done on them. Some of the quotes, the categorizing, etc., the explanations, some of them have been written already, probably 2/3 for the 4 books. So I just thought I'd let you know that I'm not hoping for anything. If nothing happens, nothing happens. I still will share my writings and so forth different ways, such as Facebook and so on, magazines, some sort of websites, things like this. Okay, so no problem. But if the books do get published, then I'm very happy to do that. But we won't be making the hard copies for this one, okay? And they will be translated into the Thai language so that the Thai publishing company can sort of sell them or give them away to Thai people. You know, we're not in this, by the way, to earn money. It's really about sharing the Dharma, of which I will explain that a little bit more after we do the meditations. What I'm going to do today is I will read you the author's, what is it called? The author's preface and also the publisher's preface, and then the dedication prayer. And these actually will answer some of the questions that I've had recently as well. And then I will add a little bit extra, and then I will give a teaching as well. On top of that, it's teaching within itself, though. I won't read out the what are they called, testimonials, because as you know, everything that's said in testimonials is good, and I want to remain very humble. Okay, so everything is nice and everything in those testimonials, I won't worry about reading those. And I say humbly now that I will remain humble, I promise, when I read the editor's or the publisher's preface as well. Obviously, that's glowing as well. They're not going to put the bad stuff in there, are they? You're not going to say, oh, here's his faults. These are his faults. You know, you shouldn't read this book. You shouldn't read these teachings, things like that. Okay, so sorry about the long introduction there, but I thought I'd mention that up front in case I forgot later. And then I'll explain a little bit more of when I started writing and things like that to give you confidence, not to talk about myself as such, but to give you confidence in reading the teachings and so on. Okay, so now forget everything I just said and let's do some meditation. Initially, to release the tension in the body. So gently close your eyes, lips gently touching, tongue resting on the upper palate in the mouth. Nice and relaxed jaw, not frowning. Shoulders not rigid, but also not slouching. And bring your mind inside your body. We'll start at the tips of the toes and work our way through the feet, up the legs, to the shoulders, to the tips of the fingers, and then back to the top of your head. So let's take a little bit of time to do this now. Now scan your body once more to see if there's any leftover tension that you can release, and then release it. When you are ready, bring your focus to the tip of your nose initially and follow the breath as you breathe in all the way into your lungs and then back out your nose again. Breathing in and breathing out. Try to keep your mind seamlessly on the breath as you breathe in and breathe out. Don't try to regulate your breaths, like longer breaths or shorter breaths. Just breathe naturally, but breathe all the way into your lungs. And then back out your nose again and continue like that. Focusing or placing your mind on your breath, the feeling of the breath. If any thoughts arise or mental activity arises, don't cling to it. Don't grasp at it. But also don't try to forcefully push it away or deny it even. But simply and naturally replace your mind back onto your breath and let go of any thoughts, mental activity, agitation by replacing your mind on your breath. And if your mind starts to become dull or sleepy, then replace your mind onto your breath more brightly at that time. So for a little bit of time, let's practice this breath meditation. Don't try too hard. Don't try too little. Nice and middle path. And now we can feel pleased with ourselves for engaging in this short breath meditation and fill ourselves with universal loving kindness in the form of white light or white nectar, or just going with the feeling of loving kindness is fine. Like I say, of utmost importance is actually the feeling of the loving kindness. This immeasurable loving kindness you're filling yourself with now. But utilizing visualization is also very helpful in firming our practice, engaging the body, the speech, and the mind. Fill yourself with so much loving kindness that it now overflows and radiates outwards, initially to your loved ones, your family, your friends, filling them with the universal loving kindness too. May they be happy. May they be free from suffering. And may they be peaceful. Now also extend this loving kindness, radiated outwards, to those you may regard as strangers, that you're indifferent towards. May they also be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And to those you may regard as enemies too, fill them with the universal loving kindness as well. May all of these people be happy at the causes of happiness, be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they be peaceful and free from conflict. So let's now radiate this loving kindness out further and further distance-wise, starting around your immediate area, to all living beings now, not just people. All the living beings that live on the land, under the land, in the waters, fly through the air, whether they're born from wombs, moisture, eggs, or through transformation. All sentient beings, whether weak or strong, great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born. Extend your loving kindness to all these living beings. Just as a mother would protect her only child with her life. Now extend the loving kindness out throughout your whole state or county, to all of the living beings, whether you like them or not at present. Try to develop a mind of equanimity, so you're not biased towards or against any living being. You want them all to be happy, free from suffering, be peaceful, and eventually realize the true nature of enlightenment. And now throughout other states and counties, throughout your whole country. And other countries throughout the world. Initially those you're familiar with and have an affinity towards. Those that you're indifferent towards. And those that you have some negative feelings towards. So your loving kindness pervades throughout this whole planet, throughout all of the oceans and waterways, down to the core of the earth and up to the outermost atmosphere. Loving kindness pervades throughout this whole world, generated in your own heart. And now beyond this world alone, throughout the whole solar system. And all of the solar systems throughout the galaxy. and all of the galaxies throughout the universe, which is constantly changing. And everything is interdependent, interconnected. Until your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space, this infinite, immeasurable loving kindness, along with the compassion, the empathetic joy based on equanimity, which is also based on understanding and wisdom. And I'll be present here and now too and recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious body, Chitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of Shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. So I've already mentioned to you the books, the ones that, or the one that has been published, and the ones that were going to be, but we had to put a pause on them. In fact, I think on my Facebook page, one of the pictures on the front of it is a picture of all the 5 books. Well, just know that the other 4 books, that's all we have. It's the cover of the book and the title. Of course, like I said, much of these 4 books are written already. And if I can have them published, then fantastic. Otherwise, I just share my writings as I do normally, okay? I just share with you just a little bit of the history. I thought I wrote this down. I thought about this before class. I just share with you that with my writing, I started writing songs, of course. I started playing guitar as a young child. And by about 13 years old, I was writing songs. Many of them very ordinary, okay, as you can imagine, a 13-year-old. But within a few years, some of them actually quite decent for a young guy. Okay, so that was my initial thing, poetry and songs. And then, of course, as I grew older, I started writing songs that had a little bit of Buddhism in them. But of course, I wasn't really studying so intensely, so accurately in those days. But some of these songs, like the song One People, which I'll explain a little bit more about in a moment, because it was actually initially written as an anti-racism song for the Triple M radio in Sydney, an anti-racism campaign against the Indigenous people, the First Nation people of Australia. So a different color, one people, that's what it was called at the time. Anyway, I'll go back to the moment. Then, of course, I started teaching the Dharma in 1998, and I wrote a few articles so I could utilize them to teach from, as well as some books and things like that. Okay, so that's when I started writing Dharma articles or Dharma teachings or commentaries on the Buddhist teachings. And I did it sort of sporadically over the next few years as well. 2009, I started doing it more. I went back to visit my master for a period, I think of a couple of months. And so actually I started writing when I was there, and he encouraged me to do that more and more, okay? Then, of course, as you know, 2010, 11, and 12, and a few years after that as well, utilizing the same scripts, I wrote the mini musicals, okay? So utilizing the music, but telling the stories of the Buddha's life and some teachings therein as well. And during this time, about 2013, I started writing more articles for Buddhist magazines, Buddhist websites, and things like that. And then from about 2015 onwards, a lot of articles. So I just thought I'd share that with you. Then, of course, I edited as well a book by a Tibetan Lama called Unveiling a Sacred Truth, and also the Vietnamese Sanskrit and English Buddhist Dictionary, long time ago now, that one. And then, of course, was editing for the Interview magazine from the translations from the Thai language as well, and then editing, making it better English for a Gallagher, the publishing company, and other teachers as well. Okay, so I just thought I'd share that with you. And doing this editing, sort of like grammatic editing, actually was great experience for me to be able to learn more about writing, about expressing my views as well, the teachings, making them as clear as possible. So what I've decided to call these classes, there's going to be 8 altogether before the Christmas period, before we take maybe 2 or 3 weeks off, is commentary on studying, practicing, and sharing the pure Dharma with pure intention. Today, I will also go through dedication of merits in the book. This will answer a few of the queries, and sharing the timeless Dharma in the modern world. This was also another question that I was asked as well. What else have I written here? And so, yeah, I don't need to really sort of mention too much about that. The questions that came, I'll actually sort of address them in brief first. They said, what do you think of the wars happening now? You know, the one in Israel and Palestine, but then also the one before that from a couple of years ago that started, still ongoing, of course, with Russia. And so I actually, and the Ukraine. And so I answered the question sort of more detail. And I said, I don't really get involved in sort of those things, because all we hear from it is the press. And some of the press is not truthful. It may be biased and things like that. So it's a little bit difficult to look on from a distance. But I will address causes of these types of things shortly, okay? So in answering that question about what do I think of it, I think it's terrible. I think any time the life is being destroyed is terrible. It creates such negative karma from both sides. Okay, so conflict is something that leads to war, and they kind of work off each other. And it comes from a lack of understanding. It comes from anger, comes from hatred, comes from greed, okay, self-centeredness and so forth. The ongoing COVID pandemic, that is not called a pandemic anymore, but it's still around and increasing again. Got asked a question about that. I think it's very unfortunate that the governments, maybe the press, the media, and big business especially, are covering up really what's happening there. Because what's happening is it's resulting in many, many people getting sick that didn't have to get sick, many people dying. These are avoidable deaths, you know. So I believe, I won't talk too much again about this, but I think it's very unfortunate, and really be careful, okay? Because this is not just like a flu, like they try to make people believe. It's not something they're covering up. The amount of cases around, deaths around, they're doing whatever they can to push it under the carpet. And unfortunately, but because it's kind of the sentiment of the general public, the people are believing them a lot. And unfortunately, this is, like I said, it's not the case what's really happening. We really need to face the truth. You know, remember I say inconvenient truths we need to face, and convenient lies we need to break through and not believe them. Okay, so that's another one. And that is related to war as well, isn't it? The war, it's needless deaths, people dying all the time. And you get a pandemic like this, that a lot of the deaths are avoidable, but they're dying too much. It's similar in that sense, okay? What do you think of lies in politics and in the media? So this is related. Terrible. Once again, you know, we need to tell the truth. It's so simple to tell the truth, and it's much less stressful. But in the media, in politics, they're trying to sort of keep their job, I guess, to put it in a humorous type of way, even though it's not humorous. Okay, so I'll leave that there. It's really, you need to be really smart as a person these days, especially with all of the rubbish that's out there. You really need to look through it and test it for yourself. Just like you tested the Buddha's teachings before believing them, you know, like a goldsmith tests for real gold. And also covering up the truth comes under that. So I've kind of answered those questions. The other question came about in Australia, for the First Nations people, for the Aborigine communities around the country, the government who are in now try to put forth in Parliament a thing called the voice, giving them a voice to Parliament and trying to put it into the Constitution. Unfortunately, 60% of Australians voted against it. Now, a lot of these people were influenced by lies in the media and by, let's say, for instance, the opposition. They were putting out the so-called no campaign. And so people voted against. How can we do that? Everything, we should be look for equality. I was almost devastated, not really devastated, but for a short period I was shocked, but not shocked, because of the way, for instance, people have been behaving in relation to COVID, not wearing masks, etc., etc. Actually, it didn't surprise me that they voted against making equality the voice to Parliament, giving the indigenous people this opportunity to have a say for things that happen in their lives, unfortunately. Okay. But I'm not a politician. I know nothing about it. I would never want to be a journalist. Okay. So, but if you are looking at these things, really pay attention to it for the benefit of all, I think that's really important. And to quote myself in relation to these things, conflict and hatred are the source of separation and war. Understanding and kindness are the source of peace and hatred. Okay, so obviously adopt understanding and kindness and rid yourself of any conflict or hatred. So I'll get into the book. This is the first time during Dharma class that I had to wear my reading glasses because the writing's too small and the pages are actually shiny. So I won't explain too much because I've already gone through a fair bit. Many people have requested me in recent times to explain timeless teachings of the Buddha in a modern way, using terminology and expression that is pragmatic, effective, experiential, and non-sectarian, in a way that can be clearly understood and practically applied to our daily lives. This book is the first of a series of books that aim to fulfill these requests. It is a compilation of 50 short teachings that are accompanied by detailed explanations of varying lengths, aimed at encouraging all who take the time to read it and contemplate the teachings herein, to develop genuine understanding and compassion. The teachings in this book have been chosen freely as an overview, whilst the future books will be categorized according to the subject matter, for ease of reference and comprehension. The main title of these books, Andrew's Pearls, originated from the heading given to a detailed list of notes taken by some Dharma students during Dharma classes over the years, specifically Matthew Fong, who can't attend the classes these days because he's busy. He's a physiotherapist, but he's also, you could say, sleep apnea doctor in a sense. Okay, so but he does say hello sometimes, and I forget to pass on these regards from other people. Hello from everybody who wants to say hello. So anyway, I'll keep reading. Matthew used to give me treatments. I just share that with you once a week for a period, my back and things like that. And he came across, he wrote down Andrew's Pearls on these notes he was taking from Dharma class and took from other people as well. So I thought this maybe was a good title, and then the publishers liked it even more than I did. Okay. My intention is to share the Buddha Dharma to the best of my ability and understanding in myriad ways, including through this book and future publications. My wish is that whoever takes the time to acquire and read these books benefit in their own way, and that it helps the reader to have trust and confidence in themselves on their way to discovering and developing true wisdom and compassion. The purpose of these publications is to be instrumental in sharing the pure Dharma and to inspire people of all ages and backgrounds to shine their inner light for the benefit of all. It is not for mere trading purposes or profit. It is my hope that this book can be both a precious gift as well as a life coaching guidebook. I wish to gratefully acknowledge the inspiration and guidance of the triple gem, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, my wise and compassionate teachers, loving parents and family, students and friends and supporters, publisher and readers, and all sentient beings for being the source that enables me to wholeheartedly study, contemplate, and practice the immeasurable or measurably precious Dharma, and for persuading me to write these books. May this and future publications further open the door to the timeless treasury of the living and vibrant Dharma and shine a light that helps you to unveil your true enlightened nature. May it promote and advance virtue and purity and act as a source of hope, strength, and blessings in these often turbulent and complicated times. Homage to the triple gem and the Buddha within. So I noticed only it's like 3.5 minutes left. So I thought you can review that. You can watch the video again and ask me questions about that. Because I spoke a bit earlier and then just prior to this now, I don't have as much time as I was hoping to explain a few spots. But you can ask me questions if you like, okay? Now the dedication. Due to the merit accumulated, by the way, this will cover some answers to what I think of war, what I think of the cover-up of the pandemic, what I think of lies, in the public life and so forth, and what I think of prejudice and racism and things like that, okay? In other words, saying no to having this voice in Parliament. Due to the merit accumulated here, along with the merit accumulated by ourselves and others in the past, present, and future, may all sentient beings be freed from suffering and abide in happiness forever. May ignorance be replaced by wisdom and understanding, hatred and anger replaced by universal loving kindness and compassion. Greed and miserliness replaced by generosity. May all be humble, friendly, moral, and patient with great enthusiasm, energy, concentration, and joy. May all disease, poverty, fighting, and conflicts be calmed. All inequality, cruelty, starvation, and homelessness be overcome. All insecurities, worries, mental anguish, and depression be pacified. May all natural disasters subside and the natural environment be balanced and peaceful. May the Buddha Dharma and all auspiciousness increase throughout the worlds where we and all others dwell. May the truth of the Buddha Dharma awaken transcendent wisdom and a great heart of compassion in all sentient beings. Through study, contemplation, meditation, and practice, may all sentient beings attain unsurpassed supreme enlightenment. And I just share with you, I initially wrote that in 2012 after a request from Most Venerable Phúc, who was the, I think, what we call chairman or president or whatever it was of the VESAC committee in Victoria, to be read out at the VESAC celebrations of Melbourne Town Hall that year. It was read out, I can't remember which one, but either Venerable Kathy Evans or Venerable Anna Goldstein, two nuns in the Tibetan tradition from the Tibetan Buddhist Society in Melbourne. So one of them, I read that out. And so that's when I initially wrote that one. Of course, I have not strayed far at all from traditional prayers, but I added things that were relating to that modern time. At that time, we just had the tsunami in Japan, for instance, etc., etc. Okay, so I rejoice in your goodness. Sorry I wasn't looking at you much because I had to read. I will read the publisher's preface to you next week before going into some of the teachings. Hopefully I've covered some of the questions, answered the questions. If not, ask me again and I'll follow up with it, okay? Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya.